She's going to lead our discussion on marketing and using the internet and whatever other wisdom she wants to share. So, without further ado, Twana, you have the floor, but more importantly, you have screen sharing capability.
In today's discussion, this is like a little overview of what we're going to be talking about. We've done introductions and we're going to talk about the foundation, messaging, customer journey. And then because of this is an advanced conversation about marketing, we're going to talk about parts of the funnel and the customer journey that people do not talk about. And it's retention and resurrection strategies. And I'll get more into that. And it's needed more so than ever in the climate that we're in. Marketing basically is the process of identifying customer needs, creating solutions that address those needs, and communicating value to build lasting relationships. What marketing is not is posting on social media. I hear this all the time. I'm like, well, what's what do you do for marketing? I post on social media. That's not marketing. It is a piece of marketing, but it's not marketing. And there's usually no strategy behind it. Running ads. Again, ads are really expensive. And if there's no strategy behind it, you don't know whether or not it's working. And making pretty graphics without strategy. So I know folks love Canva. I love Canva. This presentation is done in Canva. But if you find yourself spending 1 to 2 hours or even more, because I've seen it, making graphics and making things pretty, that's not marketing either, right? And there's a difference between branding and marketing. And the brand is just like your identity, what people, the golden, if we want to get really big, the golden arches, people see that it's McDonald's, right? But marketing is basically what the things and activities and strategies that you are doing to get people to be aware of who you are and what you sell, what your product is, and what your service is. And that is basically marketing in a nutshell. And you can do all of these activities that can be part of your marketing strategy, but it has to have a lot of reason. If you have to do your research because your people, your target audience may not be on social media, right? So for example, if you have depending on what kind of, you have a home care service and who is your target audience, right? They may not necessarily be on Instagram, right? So we have to think about where your target audience is and what message you're trying to convey to them. So today we're going to be talking about growth marketing, which is these are advanced strategies to marketing. And growth marketing is data-driven. It's a data-driven approach that covers the entire customer journey. So when we think about marketing, it is a funnel. And people love I like to say the sexy part of marketing, which is brand awareness. And that's usually what social media is. I'm out here. I started a business. I got an Instagram account. It's a service-based business. I'm a coach. It's on LinkedIn. And that's awareness, right? People love that part of the funnel. And they don't realize that you have to move people down the funnel. So I'm aware. You open up a store. I walk past it. It's beautiful. You have great visuals. I'm intrigued. So now I'm aware that you exist, right? But what happens next? How do you get me into the store? And then how will you get me to buy something? And then how do you get me to come back? And that is a whole entire customer journey that a lot of times we forget about. And when it comes to growth marketing, the way you approach that is with data. So that's the first piece. And you make your decisions based on that customer data, and that goes beyond traditional marketing. There are a lot of folks that have retail stores and e-commerce brands, and when sales are slow, they automatically say this traditional marketing, oh, we should have a sale, 25% off sale, 30% off sale. instead of looking at your data, looking at maybe there's a reason why sales are slow, looking at your data to see if there's a time, this is a time of year where it's always slow. And whether or not you have a sale, it doesn't really matter. This just particular time is a slow time in your business as far as marketing is concerned, right? So that's what the data-driven approach is, looking at it and not just making these rash decisions that you want to put things on sale, you want to just post on more posting on Instagram, spending more time making pretty pictures, really looking at where your customers are and how you can capture their attention and keep their attention and then get them to buy. When we talk about getting your clients or your customers, potential customers' attention, is with messaging. And again, the messaging is everything, all of the words, all of the things that you say to your customers to get their attention. And it's not just what you post on social media, it's in your packaging, it's in the call to action on your website, it's the copy on your website. And it's even what you say and what you speak when you're on the phone with them, depending on if someone has to call you to learn more information about your business, then all of that is messaging. And we are in a climate, there's different, economic seasons, right? And so we're in a climate where our messaging needs to be really clear and concise. And there are times where it can be aspirational. When the economy is going well, that's usually a time where people spend more and they may aspire to do different things. And then so your messaging can speak to that. But when we're in an economy where people may be tightening up the purse strings, they're still shopping, but you have to make sure that your messaging is clear. You need to make sure that it's not too clever, that they don't understand, that you're not making up words. There's been plenty of times I've looked at websites and I'm like, I don't know exactly what they mean by that. It just needs to be really clear to the point. If you're trying to solve a problem, state the problem that you're trying to solve and put that in your messaging. And so anytime the environment, and what I mean by is the micro and macro environment is basically what's going on outside, meaning inflation, political, what all of that stuff matters to how you do business and how you market your business. And you have to be able to be nimble enough. And that is like one of the, I think, benefits of having and running a small business is that you have the ability to change course and change your messaging and still stay at the core of what you stand for, but change your messaging based on what you see that is going on around you. And so that is what I mean by messaging that sells. And that is a really advanced key part. For example, I'm going to give you an example. If you have an e-commerce site and you were selling sweatsuits and different things, people may or may not need a sweatsuit, right? And so you have to be able to craft messaging and craft your copy on your website that speaks to the fact that this sweatsuit is not a nice thing to have, that it's a must-have. And that's the difference when things are a little shaky in the economy. Your messaging you need to be able to finesse it to the point where people really, where it's not a no-brainer, and they want to be able to buy your product and services. The customer journey, and again, I talked a little bit about this, and standing out with your messaging when you first start is your awareness. It's making folks aware of who you are, that you are in business, whether or not you sell a product or you sell a service. If some of the elderly clients that I work with, I have a mobile bartender, I have a hairstylist, a barber. At the end of the day, how do they stand out? How are people are you making folks aware that you exist, right? There are other stylists, there are other barbers, there are other mobile bartending services. So how do you stand out? How do you make people aware that with clear messaging that you exist? How do you stand out? What do you do different? If you're a mobile bar service, maybe you offer mocktails, right? There's a season, and you have to be really aware. You have to social listen because there's a season in January where folks, um, they call it dry January. And do you sit down and just be like, well, I'm not doing anything for dry January? Or if you do make a mocktail, that's when you use that messaging to say, hey, I also do this, right? And so the other piece of the customer journey, after you got their attention, they know what you do. They know that you offer more than one thing. Is how do you acquire them? So you've knocked and got their attention. So now how do you acquire them as a customer? That's the next step. So it's a lot of people that, a lot of businesses. There are quite a few businesses I walk by every single day. I know they exist. But I haven't been marketed to. They didn't market to me, so I have not acquired, right? They have not acquired me as a customer. So how do you make that next step? How do you acquire the customer after you've gotten their attention, after they are aware that you exist? And that's a lot of times people do. For example, they put on their own events. If you are mobile bartending service, sometimes people put on their own events and they get a bunch of partners. They may get, so if you do mobile bartending, they may partner with a caterer. And I actually went to an event like that last year where there was an event, there was a caterer who partnered with an event space and a bartender, and they put all the resources together and they had this event and they invited people who were aware of them, and they combined their people who were aware of the bartender, who were aware of the event space, and were aware of the caterer. So all of these people that were aware came to this event and was able to sample food, go to the bar. They were able to see the event space. And so they went to the next step, right? Because they got on the email list, right? So the call to action may not always be a sell, because there may be steps that you have to do before the sell. So if me going to that event, I know that, okay, in a couple of months, I do have something coming up. And now I'm on his email list, and now he has acquired me. I went past the awareness stage. Now, the activation is now when I call and book with him. When I say, hey, can I come in for a tasting? I'm having this party. And now he's aware of that. And I'm on his email list. So now, and one of the things he has on his website is if you have an event coming up. So then he'll start marketing to you towards that, right? So now I went through all of the stages of that customer journey with this event planner. And engagement, how does he keep me around? Even before I purchased with him or I booked with him, he had this big event. He had these partners come together. If it was spectacular, how do you keep engaging with customers? And I think that's where folks usually fall off. Like if you get one customer, if you do an event, you're a stylist, someone new comes in, that you accept walk-ins. They come in, do a great job. The woman loves her hair. How do you make sure she comes back? Once you get a customer, you want to keep engaging with them. Trust me, you want to email them, whether you get their email, you want their phone number, text them, even old-fashioned mail, like sending them postcards if you get their address. But you want to be at top of mind, because when it's time for, even if someone who doesn't get whether they get their hair done on a regular basis, their nails, have parties, you know what your sales cycle is, right? So if you're a bartender, an event planner, most people don't have events every weekend, but you know what seasons come up and where people usually have events, and you want to be at top of mind, and you want to be engaging with them, not only when those events are about to come up. You see that all the time, folks who I'm on. And I'm sure that you've experienced it as well, that you have not heard from people. You know that they have your email, you're on their list, and you only get an email on Black Friday. They have not engaged with you the entire year. anything. They just literally say, with email on Black Friday, 20% off. And you're like, what? And you haven't engaged, that you haven't let the customer get invested in that whole idea of being a customer for life. And that's part of the customer journey that people usually pull off. And it's a missed opportunity, especially again in this climate that we're in. Retention, it's cheaper to keep them than it is to acquire a new customer. It is definitely an missed opportunity, especially if you're in, if you have more than one product, right? So if you sell products and somebody buys one thing, there's opportunities for them to buy other things. If you have a service, if you're a stylist, a barber, they can come in and get more than one thing. That nail salon I was referring to, again, I'm looking for my nails. But she could have, she missed the opportunity me to come in for a pedicure, eyebrow wax, all the different services that she offers. So retention, it is so much cheaper to really keep a customer, and it's an advanced marketing strategy that a lot of people do not use. They miss the opportunity. So I'll give you a perfect example about for retention. And it coincides with engagement. And that is how you retain clients. Instead of waiting for your sales to come and trying to get them, oh, I had no sales this month, so now I'm going to email my list. What you need to do is to continue the engagement and offer value to your customers. If you're a stylist, and somebody walked in, they're aware of you, they walked in, you did their hair, they loved it, they had a great time, and you get their email, you can email them and just not only just say it's time for your next appointment, but you can email them and say, hey, this is how you maintain your style. Silk starch, all of the different things. This is how you maintain, this is how, you maintain your beard. Nails, all of the things, all a fitness trainer. You can just email them, different like meal plans. And so there's different ways on how to engage and retain a client. Okay, so this is a marketing strategy that very few people talk about, and it's called resurrection, and it's bringing them back. So you have not engaged with your client and forever, have not been able to retain them, and they have not come to your shop, your store, your website, have not bought a product in a year or more. And there are advanced tools that will tell you that. If you have an e-commerce site, you can, especially if it's Shopify, different sites will literally, you can run a report and see the last time that someone has purchased something. And how do you bring back basically a client that has fallen off, right? And they have disappeared. And the reason why this is an advanced marketing strategy, because it can literally be the difference between I've seen it making payroll for a bunch of folks, literally going back to clients that have literally fallen off. You'll be surprised with you just reaching out and to past clients who have fallen off, clients that you have not heard from, and a lot of times your best clients, and just finding out and not asking, right? You don't immediately ask for something. You find out what's going on. Hey, we haven't seen you for a while, and I've gotten that e-commerce sites. I've gotten that. I got one recently from Zappos, the shoe store. It was like, hey, you haven't been here a while, and I just happened to look and ended up buying some sandals. And so really think about how you can reach out and bring back past clients. Sometimes, depending on what you do, some people do customer appreciation events. If you're in the event space, if you're a mobile bartender, and they bring back past clients, and that's a way to resurrect them. It's an advanced strategy, but it's a really great way. It's still cheaper than acquiring a new client because they've already gone through the funnel. So you don't have to do anything to make them aware of what you do, of your products and services. They are already aware of what you do, and you just have to remind them that you still exist because you stop engaging with them. I just want to leave you with this quote: don't find customers for your products and services, find products and services for your customers. And that goes back to, and this is connected to that, the idea of the resurrection strategy, because there may be times that you may need to find a product or service that is vertical to what you currently sell or offer. For example, if you're a stylist and you only do just like silk press and natural hair, you may need to find a vertical service. And you can maximize all the space in your shop, and you may need to probably bring someone to do nails, maybe a hair braider, right? Because that's what's in demand, right? You've been social listening, you've been seeing what folks are paying for. And if you're seeing that you're getting less clients coming in for silk press and more women are getting their hair braided, that may be a service that you need to add on to your shop, right? So you want to make sure that you're able to provide what folks are, are asking for, and that's what this quote means. So that is my presentation.